Civil registration is one of the departments under the Ministry of Immigration and Registration of Persons. The Civil Registration Department draws its mandate from the Constitution of Kenya. It provides for prompt determination of citizenship through registration of births and deaths occurring in Kenya.
This is a department which is mandated by the government to register all births and deaths that take place in the country. We register both Kenyans and non-Kenyans. We register the events. We also do register the events that take place for Kenyans residing outside the country.
There are two types of registrations. We have late registration and current registration. Current registration happens within 6 months when the child is born. And late registration can happen anytime, so long as someone was not registered within 6 months. And we register dates and we register also births.
These records are important for their value as legal statistical records.
When we get that information, we are able to compile statistics in respect of the births and deaths taking place within a given month. And we normally give that information to inform the government's planning purposes.
It requires that the country keeps an effective registration system.
For example, this one is a record for 2001, volume 127.
This system in turn will ensure that all Kenyans enjoy all their rights accruing from registration processes, of which birth registration is most essential.
The individual, the applicant, has to have full information: date of birth, year of birth, month of birth, and which hospital. It will be easier if the information they give us enables us to trace the record. If they give us wrong information, it's hectic also.
The effectiveness of the civil registration system has been hampered by certain issues. Some of these are delays in record submission from the grassroots, certification application processing, returns and report preparation, shortage of staff and inefficient manual systems.
We actually serve at least 2,000 persons or clients per day.
Come on Friday.
Of course, we have had some challenges whereby we don't sometimes meet the timelines. And the challenge here has been, there has been a big number of clients coming in, and it has actually stretched our resources.
Our operations are completely manual. So for instance, we have lots of records. It also takes long, since it's manual, to get access to a record. This leads to queues and a long of waiting for the public. And in essence, also leads to many complaints from the public, because if the public cannot get services on time, they'll definitely complain. Nakuru serves other stations too, being the mother station of the other smaller stations that were created out of Nakuru. People have to come to Nakuru, check if the record is here, they get services. If the record is not here, then they are referred back to the other stations where they will start that process. And that one creates inconveniences to the public.
Like for my son, it has been a problem trying to get one. We first go to the registrars, it becomes manual filing, looking for manual files. And then I don't know how they put them, I don't know if they put them alphabetically, but we've gone a couple of times since he was born. And he was born, I think, 6 years ago, and it has become a problem. We've not managed to access it.
It was very hard for me to get my birth certificate when I was doing my exams in primary. I had to keep on going to the government offices for my birth certificate every now and then. They send me back home, ask me to come back the next day. They did that a couple of times and time wasn't on my side. But finally, at the end of it all, I was able to get the certificate. But it was quite a tiresome and hectic process.
41, 42, 43, 44, 45.
It is tiresome when somebody carries 10 registers from the shelves to the desk, then they have to return them in the morning. Sometimes they have dust.
This is, however, soon going to change with the digitization initiative that is ongoing at the moment.
The first thing that the digitization project is aiming to achieve is provide in a digital format the paper records for purposes of preservation of those records. And then the implementation of an electronic document management system, EDMS, for purposes of ease of access, retrieval and archival of those records.
If you walk into this office, definitely you see very many files and a lot of papers. Once we digitize our records, you'll not be able to see any files lying around. Maybe the files will be kept for reference purposes.
The amendments that we normally make manually will be done by the computer now, and will limit fraud cases.
We have had cases whereby somebody applies a certificate here, and sometimes he goes to another district and applies the certificate there. We are hoping that with the coming in of this computerization, we are likely to curb this menace of duplication of registration.
We'll be able to process certificates even for people born outside Nairobi, because some of our clients come here, they were born outside Nairobi, and sometimes they are forced to travel all the way to their districts to get the birth certificates.
We are likely to meet our timelines and even surpass the timelines. We have been using certificates within 3 days, and we are hoping maybe to issue certificate on the spot.
When the customers are served within a faster period of time, the tendency or the temptation to bribe so that the services can be faster will be eliminated. So it will also help in eliminating corruption. And then at the end of the day, when the customers or members of the public are served within a short time, it will free them to go and engage in other nation-building activities.
The CRD has just completed the process of development and installation of a civil registration system. It has also commenced a second phase of digitization of records, which will complete the current automation process and further drastically re-engineer the current process of how registration is carried out.
In terms of getting to manage the project effectively, we have lobbied for resources to enable us to monitor all the activities of this project as they occur across the counties.
The role of ICTA in the CRD project is really a technical partner and a facilitator. Under the TCIP project, we had funds to automate most of the registries in this country, at least those which handle close to 75% of our day-to-day interaction between the citizen and the government. We have other partners who are the consumers of the data in Kenya, such as the banks and the different organizations like Safaricom, which will need to validate the details of people through a certain process. So, and we anticipate to grow the stakeholders who will leverage on this data for other uses.
The digitization program incorporates training and hands-on facilitation of the persons at CRD to use the system, and will continue to monitor and facilitate the staff at CRD until they are proficient.
Digitization of records is a strategy that is being undertaken as part of an overall records management program and the automation of the civil registration systems and procedures generally.
We want to help Kenya meet the Vision 2030. As you all know, everyone is going digital right now. So for us to be at par with the current generation and the current occurrences, the technological world, we have to go digital.
World Bank is doing a regional communication infrastructure project in Africa region. Specifically in Kenya, we are doing this, a part of it is Kenya Transparency Communication Project here. Any information which is required can be assessed and looked from the computer. Otherwise, these informations are with the government's files, which is now coming up and can be looked at in the computer.
The web-based civil registration system has already been installed at the Civil Registration System headquarters in Haas Plaza, with existing connectivity to the 8 districts located at each of the 9 provincial headquarters. The digitized records will be organized using a comprehensive document management system, which will allow for structured integration and transmission to the civil registration system and retrieval for processing into statistical reports and legal documents. Despite training of staff and agents as well as mobilization of communities, the Civil Registration Department encounters certain challenges in its operations.
The biggest challenge that we have to contend with currently is the sheer size of this project. This is a project which is expected to cover all the 47 counties across the country. We haven't had a project of this magnitude before. We have activities that are supposed to be implemented at the registry level or at the county level. We need to ensure that these activities are being carried out according to the terms of reference of the responsible contractors.
When they were doing the digitalization here, one, the registers were dismantled. They have the hard covers, but they are loose. The register is easily to get spoiled, and some information get lost on the way. So I think those are some of the things that we actually faced during that period. After they cleared, they never returned our registers the way we keep them on the shelves. So you'd find that one register for 2012 is mixed with registers for 1999. So again, going back, tracing those registers, we had to reorganize again.
In a situation like this one, you are working on live documents and you don't want to interrupt or disrupt service delivery. To clear the backlog, contractors would bring up to 200 people to work in that environment. Therefore, we had to identify suitable spaces. Sometimes where there was none, we had to improvise, and that caused challenges.
So our biggest challenge, which we had to overcome, is to ensure that we have a complete set of data for all citizens, number one. Number two is to ensure that the indexed data from these records really matches and it's useful to the intended purpose, which is for really validating the user of certain identifications as fully as possible.
One of the major challenges that we're facing now is lack of documents. The digitization process is connected to the ID, the NRB department, and the immigration, and some of our sister departments. So if someone doesn't have an ID, it brings a problem. When you look at some cultures, they bury their people the same day that they die. Someone dies in the morning, at around 4, he's already buried. They may not even need that burial permit, so it goes unregistered. And even some people who give birth at home, or maybe in the hospital, maybe they lack the registration materials, or maybe they just don't register. So it lowers the registration coverage. It is not really 100%.
It is the hope of the civil registrars that many more Kenyans will register.
Maybe strict measures should be inflicted on those who don't do the registration properly.
We have been waiting for this for a very long time, and even our clients have been wondering why we have not computerized our processes.
We are hoping that the process ends up faster so that we can see some of the benefits of digitalization.
We are very grateful for this program of digitization, and we are hoping that if the whole country is covered, we are going to serve the citizens of this country very well.
As a Kenyan, I think it's the best step the government can do to make easy access of records for Kenyans, me myself included as a Kenyan.
In future, I wouldn't like my children to go through the same process of getting their birth certificate. I hope it's going to be much easier, more convenient and efficient.
This record will be stored centrally and will be accessed through web-based linkages. So you'll be able to obtain this service from any part of this country. So that is the kind of efficiency that we're looking for.
Digitization in any organization is a beginning point for building applications to serve users, both for the back-end applications and for the front-end where you serve the citizens. Take an example of what KRA does today with PIN numbers. If you come and give me your invoice, I just need to sit on my laptop and key in and find out whether it's a genuine certificate or not. So that's the level of efficiency we expect when this process and the accompanying applications are in place.